to Totalis Rankium. This week, Round 6 Total Score.
Hello, and welcome to Roman Emperor's Totalis Rankium. I am Jamie.
And I am Rob, and this is round 6 of the rounds, and it's also the total score. Why are you laughing, Jamie?
You sound so ill. You're trying to hide
I'm not
it.
ill.
You're trying to hide
I'm not ill. I'm full of beans. Full of beans, and actually I'm not full of anything, because if I eat at the moment, it might just come back up. But hey, our listeners don't need to know about that, do they? No. And I'm determined that these 6 rounds are going to come out one week after another. So we're doing it anyway, Jamie.
Rock on.
We are. So here we are. It's round 6. It's the final of the rounds. Yeah. But as ever, before we go through and discuss who is finally going to go through, let's look at the total score. Arguably the most interesting of all of the stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I say the most interesting. It's slightly less anticlimactic, you could say, because we have already discussed some of this before. But we've not discussed the dynasties, have we, Jamie?
Oh, hell no. I love the dynasties.
Oh, no. The dynasties. Well, here we go. Do you want to know who the worst dynasty was?
The one that failed at everything. I've forgotten their names.
Good guess. Oh, actually, no, you tell me. How do you want me to do it? Shall I just go through the dynasties in chronological order and tell you how well they did? Or shall I do a reverse order from 13th down to 1st?
Reverse order, that sounds quite fun, because you haven't done that yet.
Okay, let's do reverse order. Our worst dynasty in terms of total score, perhaps unsurprisingly, is the Nikephron dynasty.
That's the one.
The poor Nikephrons, you could argue they got more unlucky than anything else. One of them got beheaded, the other one got mostly beheaded.
Very unlucky.
Yeah, Strachius had half a head for most of his rule. There was someone else who didn't really want to be doing it. There was only 3 of them. Yeah, they scored, on average, 6.2.
Wow.
The whole dynasty. 0% of them got Gene Caesar, which is the only dynasty in Series 2 that got no Gene Caesars whatsoever. So there you go. They are our last place. And I have been mocking the Angelos dynasty this whole time, as some people have been picking up on, but turns out they weren't the worst. The Nikephrons were the worst.
Take it back.
I am taking it back, but not much. Well, 12 is not the Angelos dynasty. Ooh. It is what you'd expect to be worst, which is the 20-year anarchy.
Yeah.
20-year anarchy, 20 years, 5 emperors, not including Justinian II, utter chaos. A average score of 7.65. Oh dear. But 20% of them got Gene Caesar. That was obviously Theodosius III. That's our reluctant emperor. So they were 12th. In 11th place, here we go. Here, the Angelos dynasty. They just weren't very good. They scored 10.82. That's what you get for overseeing the fall of the empire. 20% of them got Gene Caesar, and that was Alexios IV for just being awful.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
So, our top 10. In 10th place is the Ducas dynasty. That's a shame. 11.7, 20% of them with a Gene Caesar. In 9th place, we have the Paleologos, considering they were the ones to literally see the fall of the empire.
Came out surprisingly well. But they put a lot of effort in, didn't they? They tried hard. They were triers.
They did try hard, and they weren't actually too bad, with an average score of 21.08.
Wow.
I mean, they managed to get into the 20s club. Yeah. 33% of them scored Gene Caesar, and there were 12 of them, so that's a good few Gene Caesars. Then we go to 8th place, the Macedonian dynasty, which might surprise some people. The longest dynasty by far, with 20 emperors that we counted. But a lot of soft cooing was going on. Yes, we have some of our best emperors in the Macedonian dynasty. We had the best, Basil II, for example. But we also had a lot of also-rans. So their their average score is 23.39. A quarter of them, 25%, get Gene Caesar. And out of 20, that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's almost like 5.
Yeah, I mean, could argue the Macedonians slightly hard done to there, but what happens when you got some duds in your mix? Then we go to 7th place. The very first one's the Leonid dynasty with 23.71 average score. 50% was Gene Caesar. Not bad.
There's only 2 of them.
True. But it's 50%, damn it. And that's the stat they will use. 6th place is the Isaurian dynasty with a score of 24.45. And 33% of them get Gene Caesar. Not bad. Then we go into 5th place. Our 5th place dynasty is the Lascaris dynasty, the exiled emperors. 5th place for the exiled emperors. Very impressive there. Yeah. Average score of 24.5. Notice how the scores are getting really close now.
They are.
We're getting a lot in the early to mid-20s.
Yeah.
We're starting to bunch up a bit. 40% of them get Gene Caesar. Then in 4th place, the Heraclean dynasty. We got a bit of a jump, an average score of 30.41.
That's a heck of a jump.
Yeah, with 50% again of them, that was 3 of them managed to get Gene Caesar. And now, here we go, top 3 dynasties for Series 2. Our 3rd dynasty. Might surprise some people because I keep banging on about them. It's the Komnenos dynasty. Yeah. The Komnenos dynasty scoring an average of 31.95. That puts them 3rd place. But this is the stat that is impressive. 80% of them got Gene Caesar.
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah. 4 out of 5 emperors got Gene Caesar.
Nice.
And then 2nd place, it's the Justinians.
That's not surprising.
With an average score of 32.00. Half of them got Gene Caesar. So that makes our best dynasty, according to our score.
The Angelos dynasty.
It wasn't the Angelos, but it's one that I'm guessing if you're listening, you're right now going, oh, who's it going to be then? Because I can't think. You've already said all the what?
Yeah, I can't.
I'm guessing is what you're thinking, because that's right. It's the Amorian dynasty.
What?
Yeah.
Who?
With 33.38 average score, 40% get Gene Caesar. They are our best dynasty according to our score. Now, the Amorian dynasty is a bit debatable because I put in Leo, the Armenian, in with them for reasons that are going to become more clear in this episode because we cover him. But if you remove him, their score goes down to 32.75, which means they're still winners.
Oh, yeah.
So, the Amorian dynasty? Who are these people?
That was my question.
Yeah, the Amorian dynasty. This is Leo V, Michael II, Theophilus, who we have covered, Theodora, and Michael III.
Okay.
Yeah, this is somewhat surprising, you could say.
I'm somewhat surprised.
Yeah, none of them are huge hitters,
no.
Score-wise, but all of them scored roughly in their low 30s. There were no duds at all, and because of that, they are our dynasty winners. Well done to the Armenian/Amorian dynasty.
Yeah.
Surprise. So there we go, that's our dynasties. But now let's see who our worst emperors were, shall we?
Yeah.
Our very worst emperors. I've gone all out here. Bottom 10 of the whole season. In 10th place is Michael I from the Nikephron dynasty with a mighty score of 2.94. Yes, that's right. Nikephros died in battle, the first Nikephron. His son Staurakius nearly died in battle. So Michael I takes over. He's in over his head, and he abdicates for Leo V, who we're covering today. It was all a bit embarrassing. In 9th place, in fact, I think Sound Guy should be doing the 10, 9, 8. Michael I doesn't get one. We've already covered him. He doesn't deserve it.
No.
Okay, Theodosius III with 7.75. We've covered him already. He's the only Gene Caesar winner in the bottom 10. Our reluctant emperor, the accountant. Yeah.
Fair enough. He didn't want to be there anyway, so...
He didn't want to be there.
He'd probably be annoyed he's even on the list.
Yeah, probably is. Okay, next. Heraclonus. A score of 2.56 from the Heraclean dynasty. This was a teenager, the son of the mighty Heraclius, brother of Constantine IIIb. His father and brother died within months of each other, and he was quite young. His regent mother could not hold on to power, so his nose was cut off after a coup took place. That's a shame.
No.
Constance II takes over, so, yeah, not much you could do.
No.
Next.
7.
John IV, one of the Lascaris, the exiled emperors. He scored a total of 2.50. Last of the Lascaris emperors in exile, he became emperor aged 7 And the Paleologos came into the position where they were looking after the royal family. You probably don't remember John IV until I point out that Michael VIII blinded him on his 11th birthday.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Yes, this is John IV.
Happy birthday, John IV.
Happy birthday.
6.
Alexios II from the Komnenos dynasty, with a score of 0.88. And this tells you how good the rest of the Komneni were, because they came in third when one of them only scored 0.88.
Oh.
Because this is why they didn't win it. Yeah, he became emperor when his father, Manuel I, died. He was 11 years old. His crazy uncle, his crazy second cousin once removed relative, let's just say that, Andronicus, came along and took over the city. Poor Alexios II was then forced to sign his own mother's death warrant, and then he was strangled with a bowstring.
That is really tragic. That's awful.
Really, really tragic. So that's Alexios II. Next.
5.
Okay, we continue the sad life of child emperors in the Eastern Roman Empire. Because we've got another one.
This could be in a podcast itself.
Yes. This is Leo II with a score of 0.20. He was 7 years old when he became emperor.
Oh.
And his father, Leo I, dies, and he died a year later. Probably of natural causes, which is a bit nicer. But maybe he was poisoned by Zeno, but probably natural causes.
How did he score so high? I mean, high is relative, but...
He scored 0.2.
Yeah, but that's still... How did he get the 0.2? What did he do?
He lasted a year. He lasted a year. That was literally it.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
Fifth from bottom. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, bloody is.
Yeah, okay. Let's see if we can get out of the rut of children who were murdered, shall we? Next.
4.
Michael VI. Michael the Old.
Yay!
Huzzah! Called the Old because he made it to 9 before being murdered. No, that's not true.
The oldest of his siblings.
Michael VI, the Macedonian, 0.13. This was an old guy put in charge of the mess that was the death of Theodora and the end of the Macedonian dynasty. Sellus may have backed a coup against him. He stepped down after a year. It was all a bit of a pointless rule. So he scored nothing apart from the short time he reigned, which was 0.13 for tempo completo.
3.
Michael V, also from the Macedonian dynasty, 0.06. Oh, we are scraping the bottom of that barrel now.
Yeah.
This is Michael the Ship Smearer. Slightly earlier in the Zoe Theodora era of the Macedonian dynasty here. This is where John the Orphanotrophus, if you remember him, was really in charge. Michael refuses to be a puppet, however, and he says, no, I will rule by myself, but instead of asserting himself, he just attempts to destroy the Macedonian dynasty. He was blinded and deposed within 4 months. Yeah, not good.
No.
2.
Starakius, poor old Starakius, the Nikephron. 0.03.
Yeah.
Nikephros had his head half chopped off in battle, and then was declared emperor, and then he died.
Yeah.
And we assumed there was no beating that. He was going to be our worst emperor, because how do you beat that?
You can't get worse.
You can't get worse until our worst emperor, Nicholas Cannabis, from the mighty Angelos dynasty.
You're so mocking.
There has been some discussion about this on our Discord. Apparently I'm being really mean to them, and they just got unlucky, but no. Bunch of useless idiots. That's what I'm going to call them. I'm doubling down. Nicholas has total score of 0.00.
Oh, because he was declared then killed like within an hour or something, wasn't he?
It wasn't quite within an hour, but it might as well have been in terms of statistics. He was declared emperor in the Hagia Sophia. 6 days later, he was forcibly removed from the Hagia Sophia and executed. Yeah. I mean, so much so is he useless, he does not appear on the Wikipedia list of emperors.
We just did the episode for a laugh.
Well, that list has changed quite a bit since we've first started doing this series. A lot more emperors are now on that list. There's a few that we didn't cover where we said, no, they don't count as emperors, which I stand by my choices, almost all of them. But I'd argue Nicholas was an emperor. I think he should be there. So if anyone is listening, go on to Wikipedia and add him, please. That would be really useful. Anyway, that is our worst emperors.
That was quite impressive. But
Yeah,
not really, but, you know. Yeah.
Well, no, the opposite, you could argue. What is impressive is this lot.
Yeah.
It's the best. Maurice from the Justinian dynasty, 38.25. Oh, that's a real score right there.
Already almost in the 40s. That's impressive.
Oh, yeah, already. We're covering Maurice today. He was a good fighter. He had lots of fighting with Persia. He kept Italy and Africa going. He got most of his points in Phytius Maximus and Successus Ultimus. We'd said he was French, and he was deposed by the crazy Focus.
That's a really random thing to say. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm fairly sure he scored a few more points than he would have done if it wasn't for the fact that we decided he was French. I think it definitely helped him, but hey, that's the way it works sometimes. Yeah. Okay, next. Michael VIII from the Paleologos dynasty. Yeah, you would have thought the Paleologos were all a bunch of idiots, but oh no, it's someone in the top 10. Michael VIII scored 39.60.
Wow.
We have covered him already in round 1, but he didn't quite go through. He is the start of the Paleologos dynasty. He got back Constantinople. By accident, yes, but he got it back. So there we go. It's Andronicus from the Komnenos dynasty. We're in the 40 club. 40.25. Covered him in round 4. He won round 4. He's the last of the Komneni. All the crazy happened. He got most of his points in Opprobrium Crazium and Phytius Maximus. Well done, Andronicus.
Yeah.
Next. Alexios I from the Komnenos dynasty. 40.63. Also covered in round 4. First of the Komneni. He went through. Most points in Phytius Maximus and Successus Ultimus. Well done, Alexius I.
6.
Manuel I from the Komnenos dynasty, 43.88. He's the third Komneni.
Brilliant.
He lost out to going through in the second round. It's the round of death, remember. The two Justinians beat him to it, but he put up a good fight. He got unlucky there. He scored almost identical to his grandfather, Alexios.
Do you think, like, when they had a Komnenos, like, family picnic, that have all the ones that had Gene Caesars, like standing behind the barbecue, high-fiving each other, really happy, then all the ones that didn't, just standing at the side looking,
Well, the only one who didn't was Alexios too, and he was a kid, and he was murdered by Andronicus. So, if Alexios' two's dad, granddad, and great-granddad were high-fiving Andronicus, I feel really sorry for Alexios too.
he was so disappointed.
Well done for killing him.
No presents at Christmas.
It's a shame to the name he is, damn it. He nearly had a clean sweep.
He's just playing in the mud with a stick.
5.
It's Basil I. We're covering him today. He's from the Macedonian dynasty, 44.88. Founder of the mighty Macedonian dynasty. Peasant to emperor, mostly Phytius Maximus and Successus Ultimus points. Well done, Basil.
4.
Justinian the Great. And we're in the 50s club.
Yeah.
Don't need to tell you he's part of the Justinian dynasty. 51.50. He went through in round 2. He expanded the empire a lot. He started to reunite the fallen West. A golden age of building and culture. He did a damn good job.
Yeah.
Top 3, though.
3.
Justinian II, the Heraclean, just beating his namesake up with 52.00. He also went through in round 2, the revenge story that we love so much.
Yeah.
What, no nose, that's all that needs to be said. Revenge
sweet.
and no nose.
2.
Heraclius. We covered Heraclius last week. He is the founder of the Heraclean dynasty, scored 53.88. He picked up the empire when it was on its knees. He defeated the Persians in the last war between the two empires, and he saw the rise of Islam. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's so good, he may as well have literally picked up the empire.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
brick at a time.
And obviously our winner is
1.
Basil II from the Macedonian dynasty, and a 58.63.
Nice.
Just that score. That score just kicks everyone else in the teeth.
Oh, it does.
He went through in round 3. He is the Bulgar Slayer. Very long rule. Very stable. Fighting all over the place.
Yeah.
But not just fighting, new laws to improve people's lives and general stability. So, yeah.
I mean, he's clearly the one to beat.
That sounds suspiciously like semi-final talk to me, Jamie.
Sorry.
We're not quite
Sorry.
there.
Oh,
we are not quite
sorry,
there
I'm
yet.
breaching the
Because
contract.
we have discussed our total scores. Well done to Basil II for winning, and bad luck to Nicholas. As I said last time, incidentally, the same winner and loser as the Tempo Completo scores. Yeah. But we're done now. We've analysed all of the raw scores, and as we know, the raw scores, although we spend all season discussing them, are actually utterly pointless, and we may as well not have done them, because it's all about our gut feeling, je ne sais Caesar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. So let's do our final round, round 6.
Round 6. Fight.
Final round, and the one, in a way, I've been most looking forward to, because this is the first round out, and it's the last one, but it's the first round where I literally have no idea who we are going to send through. All the others, I've had a fairly good chance of at least one, or some of them even both. Whereas this one, I just don't know. I do not know. So let's see who we've got, shall we? We've got Constantine XI from the Paleologos dynasty, the very last emperor. He's scored a total of 17.90. Not a great score, ranking him 51st. But he's the last emperor.
Yeah. And he went out in a blaze of glory.
And he went out in a blaze of glory, so maybe that's enough to get him through. He is up against Basil I, the founder of the Macedonian dynasty, a very impressive score of 44.88. He's 5th overall. He is the highest ranking in this round, so he is the one to watch out for. Then we have another Paleologos. We have John VI, 28.88. Not an amazing score.
No.
Ranking him 35th, sort of middle of the pack kind of area. Yeah. But maybe we will be surprised by him. Then we've got Leo V, the Armenian/Amorian dynasty, with a score of 35.88, ranking him 18th, which is roughly where they all scored in that dynasty.
Yeah.
Which is why they're apparently the best dynasty.
As a snub of historians there, Rob, aren't you?
Well, I just amazed that the Amorians have come out on top.
Yeah.
They have, you know, when Eurovision Song Contest is going on and they're calling out the scores, and there's always a table of people who are just like utterly astounded they're doing as well as they are.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if we pan over to the Amorian table right now,
Whoa! Oh my god!
They're all just
little
pointing
heart signs to the camera and stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
Little flags. Yeah, bless them.
Yeah, pan over to the Komnenai table, and they're all just staring daggers at Alexios too.
I can't believe this.
Okay, and then we've got, finally in the round, is Maurice from the Justinian dynasty. He scored an impressive 38.25. He is also in the top 10, but he is last of the top 10 in 10th place. So there you go.
Well, Maurice is going through. I'm sorry.
Why is that?
Because he's Maurice.
He's Maurice and he's French.
Yep, he is going through.
Okay, what about any of the others? Any of the others?
Don't care.
Any flash of... No,
nope,
okay.
Don't care.
Well,
Maurice is going through.
Well, we will see, shall we? Let's start with Constantine XI.
Constantine XI.
Okay, Constantine XI, 1449 to 1453, Jamie. 1453. It still amazes me how late the Romans kept going.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Just think, we're only, 15 years till the moon landing? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
If I've done my maths right
Fall
there.
of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, it's something like that, isn't it? Anyway, before we get into Constantine, I think, if I'm being honest, I would have been surprised if you told me that the very last emperor would be in the playoffs, and not for an Alexios for his awful reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here he is. He's here. He is the son of je ne sais Caesar winner Manuel Dos. And he was born into the royal family with lots of brothers, if you remember. He had John, Andronicus, Theodore, Demetrius, Thomas, a whole bunch of brothers. When the Sultan Mehmet died, his brother John and heir and his father argued over what to do. Manuel had done a good job with the Ottoman princes, but he was getting old, and John felt he could do better. John's political intrigue with the Ottomans ended up with the capital being sieged. It didn't go well. After the siege, Constantine was left in charge of the city for a while he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
First we really hear of him. So he was obviously trusted. His brother travels west for support. Then their father, Manuel, dies. So Constantine heads to Moria with his brother to go and fight there.
Yeah.
Not going to go into the convoluted ins and outs of the fighting that took place in the south of Greece between Latin forces and the brothers of Constantine, because we did his episode recently, and it's hard to sum up quickly. So I'm just going to say, stuff happened, lots of fighting happened, and just know that for several years, Constantine was arguably the most impressive of the brothers as they fought enemies of the empire, and with each other over what little land they had left. Constantine actually starts to grow the empire as he started to actually take land. That was all very impressive.
It's more like, isn't it, like farmland and, you know...
It's still land that counts.
The tree to the west of the city.
Look at percentages, Jamie. Look at what the empire has.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's...
That 4 trees, that's another 32% of the empire back. I mean, that's pretty good. In fact, he's doing so well that the Pope is unhappy. Because Constantine is taking Christian cities, damn it. And the Sultan wasn't happy because you're meant to be my vassals, damn it. Stop it. So Constantine's annoying all the people. And then he was summoned to the capital. Let's talk about succession, his brother said. But then one of his other brothers, Theodore, rushes up to the capital as well, and there's all disagreements about succession going on. Infighting with the brothers start once more. Constantine was left in charge of Constantinople once again when John went west once more and came back to tell everyone, right, we're all Catholic now.
Excuse me?
Said everyone. And then one brother, Demetrius, with support from the Sultan, attempted to coup. Constantine was stuck on Lesbos at this time.
Yeah.
He had just got married, but then his boat couldn't leave because the island was surrounded.
Yeah.
And then his wife died. It was all very tragic. By the time he got back to the capital, he learned that the coup had failed. Hurrah. But it wasn't great. Constantine goes back to Moria, where he goes and lives in the capital of Mistra, which is fast becoming the capital of the empire, at least culturally. And then he decides to expand what little they had. He was able to get Athens and Thebes back into the empire, and they sound good because I know where they are on a map. So that's good. This greatly angered the Sultan because he owned those at the time. So he attacks in force. Constantine, having rebuilt the walls to Moria, fought to defend it, but the Ottomans had brought a cannon with them, or more to point, several cannons. These were relatively new technology, and the walls could not stop them. The Ottomans sacked the area, but not as badly as feared. Constantine was put in his place, however. Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have taken Athens.
Oopsie.
Then word comes through. His brother, the emperor, was dead, so all the brothers rushed to the capital. Apart from Constantine. He's still trying to keep Moria in one place. It looks like his brothers might attempt to coup, because Constantine was the heir, but their mother steps in and makes it very clear. No, boys. Constantine's next in line. So, Constantine gets crowned. Constantine XI. Not crowned in Constantinople, however. He was worried that his brothers would take power, so he just got crowned on the move whilst he was heading back to the capital. Anyway, he arrives, and for 2 years he attempts to get a handle on the fact that an overwhelmingly more powerful enemy wanted them gone. But then, hooray, brilliant news, the Sultan's died, leaving a teenager in charge. This is great news. The threat is gone. No, it was not great news. This young Sultan wanted to prove himself by taking the capital from the Romans. So the Ottomans started building a fort north of the city, so big that it took a year to build.
Wow.
All the Romans could do was watch and wait. The Ottomans had between 60 and 100,000 men. The Romans had around 10,000 fighters in the city, and that was it. And then a new monster of a cannon was rolled up outside the city. The world had never seen a cannon this big before.
Big Billy, yeah.
That was what it was called, yes. Big Billy fired 7 balls a day.
That's quite funny, actually, because that sounds like, that's 7? That's nothing, but, you know, early technology.
They were big balls as well.
Massive balls.
So what the guy who rolled it up said, it's winched into place. And a guy just slaps the side of it. This bad boy. 7 balls a day.
Oh, that's a lot of
He
balls.
says. That's Big Billy for you. Yeah, anyway, we've been distracted by the big balls of Billy. It was only a matter of time before the walls fell to this massive cannon. The city had never seen anything like this. Meanwhile, inside the city, the Venetians and the Genoese, who had been arguing over the city for sentries by this point had actually pitched in to try and defend it, but they don't trust each other, so it doesn't go too well. Constantine leads the fighting with a Scotsman who turned up. Remember him?
Yes.
Yes, the explosive expert from Scotland who just turned up from nowhere.
You're right there. Hey, that's a wee big Billy. Hey, check out the balls on him.
Yeah, I just love that fact. Yeah. Anyway, 2 months of struggling to survive go on, but it's only a matter of time. Eventually the walls give and they are breached. As the streets flood with Ottoman troops, the last emperor of the Romans picks up his sword and rushes into the fight. And it's just such a better end than season 1.
Oh, it really is.
I mean, this guy gets Augustulus and picks him up by the collar, shakes him, stares him into the eyes, and then just throws him to the side.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a bad emperor, but he didn't have a chance to be emperor, really.
No.
He did okay. Get the feeling if he ruled in better times, he probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
And he goes down with the ship. You've got to admire it.
Yeah.
Got to admire it.
It's just the end of Blackadder. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So I stand by the Gene Caesar, definitely.
Yeah.
Constantine XI scored 12 for Faetius Maximus, 1 for Opprobrium Crasium, 2 for Successus Ultimus, which is higher than you'd expect for last emperor to get.
It's a really good point.
2.5 for Imago Facius and 0.40 for Tempo Completo, with a not great score of 17.90.
But I'd argue they were very insurmountable odds. You could have stuck Aurelian in there and he wouldn't have survived.
You could have got Aurelian.
Basil II.
You could have got Constantius II in there. You could have got Basil.
Maurice. Even Maurice could have survived that.
All of them. Line them up on the walls. And what would have happened? They would have been broken to bits by Big Billy's balls. Yeah. Anyway, good enough to go through?
I don't know. So I think there's something... I think you can make an argument.
Yeah, okay, let's go on to the next one. Basil I. 867 to 886. The founder of the Macedonian dynasty. We know very little about his early life because he was a peasant. That said, we get stories, Jamie. Oh, we get stories, and you enjoyed these stories. There were a lot of stories about eagles shading him and signs. But if you remember, these stories had like sprinkles of realism to make them sound more believable for some reason. Because
an eagle shaded him as he was travelling south for the winter.
Well, not quite, but an eagle was shading him. Was it an eagle? He was being shaded by a bird. Probably an eagle. I haven't put this in my notes. It's me half remembering. But yeah, his mother just kept throwing stones at the eagle because she was worried that the eagle was going to bother her child.
Carry him off.
Until the third time, that's when they realised it must be a sign. So yeah, there's all sorts of realistic signs going on. Anyway, we don't know much about his childhood, apart from the fact that he was a well-muscled teenager. Yeah, he heads to the capital to make his fortune. We get the story that he slept outside a monastery in the streets, and then a priest kept getting a dream to invite him inside. Again, a sprinkling of realism. The priest kept waking up thinking it was just a dream and going back to sleep, until the man in his vision appeared with a whip to tell him, no, seriously, go and get Basil. Which we particularly enjoyed.
You just imagine a really pissed off angel. Like, come on, get the hint.
Yes, I believe that was our final sketch for that episode.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, what actually probably happened is Basil goes into the city. Somehow he was in the right place at the right time, and he impresses a nobleman called Theophilus. Nothing to do with the Emperor Theophilus. Yeah. This nobleman, Theophilus, was impressed with this young, well-muscled teenager and his wrestling skills. Apparently he liked his wrestling. One day at a party, held by the son of Bardos, who was the current power behind the throne, there was a delegation of Bulgars who were boasting of the wrestling prowess of one of their party. So Bardos was getting obviously annoyed, so Theophilus says, why don't you let one of my boys wrestle? I think he could beat this Bulgar. So Basil is sent forward, and he defeats the Bulgar, strangling him like, and I quote, a newborn baby, which was a simile which caused us to pause. Yeah.
He's done this far too many times.
There was a choice in that simile right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, sometime later, the emperor was out hunting, and Basil was part of Theophilus' entourage. The emperor at this time was the young Michael III, who was probably roughly about Basil's age. When Michael III's horse starts to play up and rides off without the emperor, Basil says to Theophilus, his master, it's like, would it be okay if I ride after the horse, jump on it, and tame it? Would the emperor be annoyed with me? At that point, everyone goes, yeah, go on then. That'll be awesome. And Basil does it. And the emperor was very, very impressed. So much so, he took Basil from the Lord Theophilus, probably much to Theophilus' annoyance. So the emperor and Basil soon become really good friends, much to the despair of Michael's family, because who is this low-born youth who's now friends with the emperor? So they get on so well, Basil is soon made chamberlain. So someone who sleeps in the same room as the emperor to keep him company and keep him guard, essentially, and talk to him. Chamber,
I always
lane.
wondered,
Yeah. Well, this is early days of Chamberlain. It's not quite the full-on advisor role that it becomes, but it kind of is, because you're close to the emperor the whole time. So Basil is now the Chamberlain. The two of them get so close that when Michael III wants to see his mistress more often, they hatch a plan. Basil will marry Michael's mistress, and that way, I think you put that expression at the time.
That'd be a very awkward wedding night.
Well, that way Michael's mistress can visit the emperor's chambers to visit her husband, but actually she's off to see Michael. Yeah. So that's...
Poor Basil into the bed again. This is crap job. I hate this now.
Oh, you've clearly forgotten what happens. That's where you will get to that. Anyway, at some point, Basil starts thinking that actually his friend's a bit of an idiot and he could probably run the empire somewhat better than his friend. After all, Michael was a puppet emperor. Bardos was the real ruler here. Basil figured he can take them both on. To begin with, Bardos was about to invade Crete to get it back in the empire. And then suddenly, the day before the invasion, when they're about to get on the boats, they're not in the capital here, suddenly the soldiers kill Bardos in front of everyone on the emperor's orders.
Oh.
Basil almost certainly organised this by telling Michael that his uncle and puppet master was planning to coup.
Yeah.
Once they get back to the capital, Michael tells everyone that Basil saved my life, and he is now co-emperor.
Boom!
Michael's family despair, but there's nothing they can do. And then Michael and Basil fall out, probably because Basil no longer needs his idiot friend. Michael tries to have Basil killed in an assassination attempt, but it fails. And then Basil breaks the lock of the emperor's door one night, so he bends the bolt that goes across so the emperor can't lock himself in. And that night he heads to the room and he beheads his friend.
You woke him up beforehand?
Oh, I can't remember from my notes, but let's say yes. Anyway, there you go. Basil has gone from peasant boy entering the city to emperor in 15 years. That's impressive.
Very impressive, yeah.
Very impressive. He immediately sets to work on the schism of the church. I mean, Basil might be an illiterate peasant, but he knows his history and he knows what he wants to do. He hasn't got power just for no reason. He has plans. So, let's sort the schism in the church out, shall we? He fires the unpopular patriarch, he puts someone else in. He then talks to the current Western emperor, because we have Western emperors at this time. Yeah. The caliphate have started to get into Italy. Shall we join forces and do something about that? They start to put some plans in, but then a huge earthquake hits, one of the biggest in Roman history. The domes fall down in the Hagia Sophia. Oh. The goats soon afterwards commit suicide for shame.
Do the Japanese thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to stab yourself with a sword as a goat, because obviously you've got no thumbs.
Poor hooves.
But they're very good at climbing and jumping off things, so they just wait till someone's walking past with a sword and someone jump and lunge.
These really confused soldiers walking around like, oh, goat kebab. Brilliant.
Yeah. Bleating the goat word for shame as they're falling. So anyway, Basil orders the Hagia Sophia to be rebuilt better than ever, which pleases everyone. Shortly after this, he calls a meeting of the heads of Christianity from all over the world. Let's answer the Bulgar problem, shall we? The Bulgars at this time were Christian, but they were debating whether to be Western or Eastern Christian. And in a political coup for Basil, it was announced that the Bulgars came under the See of Constantinople. In other words, the Bulgars were going to be Eastern Christian. The Pope was outraged but could do very little. This also angered the Western Emperor, so the idea of them joining forces to fight the Caliphate is called off, which is a bit of a shame, but Basil doesn't care. He's pretty much got Bulgaria into the empire. And then there was a religious uprising of the Paulicians in Armenia. Basil was forced to deal with this. A lot of people died. Realising that the empire was having to defend itself on both fronts, he decided to build a navy. We're a Mediterranean power, damn it. We need a decent navy, and we don't have one. But we've got no money. His idiot friend Michael had spent it all on just partying. So he ordered all gifts that Michael III had given out to make friends be returned, on pain of pain. It works. They now have some money, so a fleet is built, one of the best fleets the Empire's seen, and it was used to great effect. Basil gets rid of a pirate problem that was going on, and then he takes the entire Dalmatian coast back for the Empire.
Do you think, like, if they've not really had a navy before, you had a very lot of very nervous sort of sailors to start with, like never been in water before, it's like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. Then after a year, they sort of toughen up after a montage. It's like, yeah, water, great.
One of the things that baffles me most about Roman history is how rubbish they were on sea. On average, occasionally you got an empire or you got a period of time where their navy was actually all right. But for a Mediterranean superpower, the thing that really stands out is how rubbish they usually are on sea.
And Italy really sticks out into the sea as well. It's not like a little ridge. It's like a big boot.
The Venetians and the Genoese, I mean, they're just small cities.
Yeah.
And they invested in their fleets and they became essentially global superpowers.
And beautiful boats. War
anyway,
yeah.
Slightly sidetracked again. The fact is that he built a fleet and it was good. So there you go. He's getting the Dalmatian coast back. All those dogs. And then he used the fleet to take back the south of Italy. Hooray!
Hey.
Italy's back in the empire. It takes it off the caliphate. Very impressive. By this point, Basil sees himself as the second Justinian. He was a peasant emperor who started an expansionist golden age.
He's going to be so happy we realise he scores higher than Justinian. Oh, no, he doesn't. No, he does.
No, he didn't.
No, he doesn't.
No, he didn't.
Oh.
He didn't quite. He was close. Justinian came 4th, Basil came 5th.
Ooh.
So,
Coattails.
Very, very close. Well, there was one thing Justinian had done that Basil had not, and that was build the Hagia Sophia, the greatest building ever built. Well, if he built the Hagia Sophia, I'll have a new one of those, please. I'll have the new one, the new cathedral. It was called the Nea, or the New. This cathedral was huge. It was in the palace complex. Its dome didn't fall down. They didn't even need goats.
Wow.
For a while, it was the cathedral to be in, but as we saw as the season progressed, emperors reverted back to the Hagia Sophia before too long. There's just something special about the Hagia Sophia. It's got history.
I reckon it's all protesting goats out the front. It's like, no jobs for goats.
Exactly. That's it's really hard to get anything done having to get past the goats calling you scabs. The Nea was destroyed 50 years after Constantine XI. The Ottomans came in and went, what should we do with this big Christian building that we don't have any use for? I don't know, gunpowder storage? Yeah, that will do. So they store their gunpowder in it. It was Jeff's suggestion. And...
We'll put this very grumpy goat in charge of it.
Yeah. Anyway, a storm one day, a lightning strike, no more building.
Yeah. Or people in works within the surrounding 5 miles.
Yeah. So it's a shame. I mean, the Nea was apparently a very impressive building. It rivaled the Hagia Sophia, but it's no longer with us. Anyway, back to Basil. The old city of Syracuse then fell in Sicily. Remember the one with the lasers?
Yeah.
In our Roman Republic episodes. That falls. Now, this is arguably because all the money and the ships were being used to build the Nea. Basil's become obsessed with this new cathedral. He's not paying attention. But then he is paying attention. To avenge it, Basil attacks the caliphate in Anatolia, and he does pretty well. But then his son and heir dies, which really upset him. And he was left with his other son, the idiot Leo, as he called him.
Yeah.
The idiot Leo, who he really didn't like, reminded him a lot of his friend Michael III.
You're so dumb.
Well, he really reminded him of Michael III. If you remember, Basil's wife was Michael's mistress.
Yeah.
So there's a very, very good chance that Leo was actually Michael's child, not Basil's.
Ooh.
And the Macedonian dynasty should not be called the Macedonian dynasty. But anyway, the Caliphate then invade and take back all the gains that Basil had just made. Things deteriorate more between Basil and his son Leo. Basil has Leo publicly flogged for having an affair.
Wow.
It doesn't make the royal family look good. A faction working against Leo then sets Leo up, trying to stage a coup. So he is arrested and thrown under house arrest. But Leo's popular, so he was released. And then Basil goes hunting. And this is where we get arguably the best death in all of Season 2. Because Basil threw a spear at a stag, and the stag charged at Basil. The stag got its antlers caught in the Emperor's belt, and the hunting party spent a merry afternoon chasing stag and Emperor around. They eventually, after hours, managed to catch up and kill the stag. Basil asks how far he had been dragged, and orders they actually go and measure it. He is told eventually that it was 16 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he dies.
Yeah.
The fact that he stayed around long enough to ask how far it was.
Just a small curiosity.
Just out of interest.
As things are going grey, I'm losing feeling of my hands and legs.
Yeah, so there you go. That's Basil. 14 for Phytius Maximus, 8 for Opprobrium Grasium, 17 for Successus Ultimus, Imago Facius 3.50, Tempo Completo 2.38, a total very impressive 44.88, ranking 5th overall. He is, score-wise, the one to beat this week.
Yeah. Interesting. He seems a bit of a though, I'm going to be honest.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. He cooed, tried to kill his simple friend.
I mean, he did do that, didn't he?
I don't,
Yeah, he was a bit ruthless, and then he also hated his son. Yeah, see what you mean.
Anyway,
John 6.
1347 to 1354, we're back with the Paleologos dynasty, and what I would call the hidden gem of John VI. Not an emperor I think many people would ever think of, but I really like John VI. He was born around 1295. He was born into a powerful family, and he was part of the royal court. When he was young, he became friends with the grandson of the old emperor, Andronicus III. As in, the friend was Andronicus III.
Yeah.
They were around the same age as each other. We get stories of them drinking and gambling and enjoying the company of the ladies.
Hey.
And then John was ordered out of the capital when it was decided by the royal family that he was a bad influence on the heir. Then Andronicus III, if you remember, accidentally killed his brother. Yes, there was someone sleeping with one of his mistresses, so he orders that person be killed, and it turned out it was his brother. Oops. Anyway, Andronicus III flees the capital and goes where his friend John is, and together they plot a coup. Let's get rid of your grandfather. The coup simmers down, but by the end of it, John is now in charge of the armies. He fights the Bulgars, he does well. He fights the Ottomans, he does okay. Then he and his friend Andronicus III plot another coup against the emperor, and this time it works. The emperor abdicates and Andronicus III becomes emperor. So John, in his early 30s, becomes right-hand man to the emperor. Huzzah. He's put in charge of the armies once more, but also in charge of tax and the treasury. His friend, the emperor, offered to make him co-emperor at this point, but John turns round and goes, no, thank you. Make me co-emperor, that will put a target on my back. I'm happy just being powerful, that's fine.
I just want the cash, not the responsibility.
Yes. Well, the emperor and his wife then have a boy, and they name him John after his friend John. Oh. That's nice. This little John would become John V. Then the Ottomans invade. John and Andronicus III ride out to meet them, but they lose. Anatolia is lost. But then John uses fighting and diplomacy to get Epirus back into the empire, so that softens the blow a bit. But then his friend Andronicus dies. Oh. And this starts what was, in John VI's own words, I quote, the worst civil war that the Romans have ever known. Which is debatable, but it was a big civil war.
Yeah.
Now, little John V is now 9 years old and emperor, and our John Cantacazinos, was keeping things running for his friend's son.
Yeah.
But it soon became clear that John V's mother was very much against this, as was a growing faction in the palace. Our John, I'm going to keep calling him John Cantacazinos to make it clear. So John Cantacazinos used his connections to get the army behind him. He then headed out to fight the Bulgars, who were invading, and he made a political pact with the Serbians, led by a man named Dusan. And then word came through. Someone had tried to kidnap the little emperor, John V. John Kantakouzenos heads back to the capital and talks to the mother, Anna. Yeah, we don't like each other, but I can protect the kid. So why don't we marry your son to my daughter? I'll become co-emperor. One family, we're stronger together.
Yeah.
Was his idea.
Logical.
Now, Anna was not happy about this. She doesn't like John Kantakouzenos, but she goes for it. She sees reason. It makes sense. But as soon as John leaves the city, Anna and the Patriarch and the general who would try to kidnap her son form an alliance. 3 of us will band together and we will destroy John Kantakouzenos. John finds out about this and is furious, so he declares himself emperor, which makes him John VI.
Yes.
We covered John VI before John V because
Made sense.
it made sense in the narrative, but that's why the numbers are reversed, because little John V's not doing anything right now. So John VI declares himself emperor, but makes it very, very clear. His friend's son, John V, is also emperor. I'm not cooing here. I am just defending the Emperor John V by being co-emperor. Now, I'm not going to cover the back and forth of the fighting between the 2 factions. It was a long episode, one of our longest, and it's a fascinating story. Highlights here, though. John was reduced to an army of 500 at one point, but then claws his way back. All sorts of stuff goes on with the Serbians and the Turks. All sorts of double crossing goes on. The general dies at one point. People in a prison when he was inspecting it. The Patriarch and Anna fall out. Anna has a meeting of the high-up bishops to depose the Patriarch, but this is interrupted by John VI taking the capital. John VI then declares he would be emperor for 10 years, but then he would pass it on to John V, who would be 25 by that point.
Okay.
Got shades of Diocletian there, of sensible kind of, right, well, let's do what's good for the empire here. To make sure all this works, John V is wedded to John VI's daughter. And then everyone dies. Because it's the plague, and it's the big one. It's the Black Death, the worst plague in history. Up to 80% of the capital die, including John VI's son. And as the world is falling apart, the Serbians and the Genoese start causing trouble, and John VI and V head out together to fight the Serbians and Dusan. They manage to take some land off the Serbians, but then little John V, fearing John VI's heir would take the throne, asks the enemy, Dusan, to help him take the empire. John VI hears of this and tells Anna to go and tell her son off, which Anna then does.
You're an idiot.
What are you doing talking to the Serbians? Political landscape turns into a mess, however. The empire is split between the 2 Johns, and John VI is starting to get on at this point. His son, Matthew, starts looking at his inheritance and starts thinking he should be the heir. So Matthew and John V start fighting. John VI doesn't want this to happen, but he can't stop it. A second civil war breaks out. John VI is forced to pick a side, so obviously he sides with his son. And John loses this war. John V takes the capital. John VI is monked and goes off to write his history, which is where we get most of the information about the Civil War from. So maybe a bit of bias in the sources there, but it is a fascinating story. It was one I wasn't expecting or looking for. I remember it was one of the most interesting to research out of both series. And it came right near the end. So that is John VI. What are you thinking?
Very logical. Very pragmatic. And like you said in the episode, like trying to make the empire better rather than just power. It's like, I want to, we need this to work. You know,
he really just seems to be trying.
Let's work together.
He's trying to stabilise the empire.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to do. And people around him aren't having any of it. I don't know whether it's good enough to go through, which is a shame because I do like him. He's one of my favourites. But we will see. Okay, next up.
Leo V.
Leo the Armenian, 813 to 820. Born into a powerful family, he had 2 friends, Michael, who would become Michael II, and Thomas, who would become dead. They probably all met each other when working for General Badanis.
No, we all know they met each other in the pub.
Well, they met each other in the pub whilst working for the General Badanis. When the 3 were young and high up in the army, Irene, who we covered last week, was deposed by Nikephoros. Badanes decided to coup against Nikephros. Who the hell was this Nikephros guy? I bet he starts a rubbish dynasty. So why can't I be emperor? Says Badanes. The three friends, Leo, Michael and Thomas, have to decide, do we revolt with our general, or do we remain loyal to this new emperor we've never met? We then get a story of Badanes going to see a monk who could predict the future. This monk, we speculated, lived in a cave up a pole in a desert.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The monk claimed that Badanes was not going to be emperor. However, he did say that Leo would be emperor next, then Michael, and then lastly Thomas would be declared emperor, but then die horribly.
Horribly.
Horribly. Leo and Michael then abandon Badanes, and Thomas sticks with him, thinking, well, sod this for game, soldiers. I don't want to die horribly. Obviously, all that is made up after the fact, but it was a great story that we really enjoyed. We don't know the details, but Badanes loses his rebellion. Leo and Michael, too, are rewarded by Nikephros, so they must have sided with Nikephros. Sources then get really murky. It would seem that Leo's father was caught up in some kind of coup against Nikephros, so the family fall out of favour with the emperor. But then Nikephros is killed by Crum, and then his son Stauracius dies shortly afterwards of acute not having a head.
It's terminal.
And then this left the son-in-law of Nikephros in charge, Michael I, not to be confused with Leo's friend Michael II. Now, Leo, for some reason unknown, is back in favour, and he is made governor of the Anatolic theme. Leo leads the fighting against the Caliphate. He does very well, but then he receives word from the Emperor, we need to go and kill Crum, damn it. He's a thorn in our side, so head east.
Crum.
Leo turns up, and the Romans face the Bulgars, and in the fight, Leo's wing of the army, because he's in charge of a whole wing of the army, suddenly, with seemingly no reason, collapse and flee. Michael heads back to the capital, and seeing which way the political winds were going, abdicates. Leo uses this to push his claim on being emperor based on the fact that he was the most popular general. That's literally it. I'm most popular general, I think I should be emperor. Leo is persuaded by his friend Michael too. Yeah, you should definitely go for this. So they do. They head to the capital, they walk in, and Leo is crowned. But then Crum turns up and tries to siege the capital. The Bulgars knew they couldn't take the city. Those walls are damn impressive, and the Bulgars hadn't bothered to invent cannons.
Lazy buggers.
I know. So, instead, they ask for gold. If we have some gold, we'll go away. Oh, and also Crum is going to, jab a spear into the front door of the capital and declare victory. In a very much George Bush-esque kind of way.
Or a Caligula stab in the sea kind of way.
Yeah, exactly. It's been done many times in history. Declare victory and go home. Leo says, yeah, maybe, let's meet, and we'll discuss the terms. So Leo sets out to meet Crum, but it's actually a trap. Not for Leo, but for Crum. Leo sets up a trap. He attempts to capture the Bulgar Tsar, but the plot fails. Crum goes on a tour of the empire, acting out in revenge. How dare you try and kill me. Adrianople is taken. So Leo and his two friends, Michael and Thomas, is back on the scene by this point. They set off to fight the Bulgars. One night, when facing a large Bulgar army, rumour suddenly spreads through the Roman camp. The emperor has fled, realising they were going to lose. This rumour then spreads to the Bulgar camp, and the Bulgars have a bit of a party, and then leisurely start to organise themselves to annihilate the leftover Romans in the morning. Yeah. But then, as the sun comes up, Leo suddenly charges at the Bulgar camp. It was all lies. Absolute lies. The unprepared Bulgars were wiped out. An angry Crum then spent a year preparing to take Constantinople. Crum wasn't with that army, by the way, so he was fine. But we are going to take the capital. Those walls are impressive, but we're going to invent things that can take the walls.
We need something big that can shoot balls.
But that guy wasn't listened to, so instead they just built big towers they can push towards the walls.
Seriously, I have this. It's like a big metal tube you can put big balls in. They fire
Stop
out with...
talking balls, man, they said.
You're obsessed.
Yeah. They killed him. That was a shame.
And he was the first Billy.
He was the first Billy. Yeah. He was. Yeah. His great-great-great-great-great-grandson eventually invented the cannon. In China. He went on a big tour. Anyway, this was the biggest attempt to take the city up until this point. This was going to be a big siege. Everyone held their breath. And then suddenly, Crumb just dies. Out of nowhere, blood just starts spurring out of all of the orifices. We don't know why. Maybe poison, maybe not. Who knows? Probably poison. Anyway, the Bulgars are no longer a threat because internal disputes take over. For a while there was peace, and suddenly Leo becomes obsessed with icons.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's this period of time where every time you've got a half-decent emperor, they just go off on a bloody icon tangent, and you just watch the empire fall apart. What are you doing? Anyway, iconoclasm is an issue once again for the first time since Irene put it to bed. Remember when we covered Irene?
Yeah.
She said, no, we can have icons again. No, get rid of those bloody Jesuses, says Leo. We're banning icons once more, but this was a hugely unpopular move. People liked their icons. So Leo, not being an idiot, hatched a plot. He organised a group of men to attack the large statue of Jesus that was just outside the palace. He then had his soldiers remove the statue to keep it safe. So he just starts keeping all the icons safe, honest, really safe.
Put it in my bedroom.
Icons start being gutted out of the city. And he starts replacing all of the clergy with iconoclasts.
Do you think secretly he was actually really into icons? He just kept them stored in his bedroom. He's like, I love icons.
Oh, he just wanted
mine.
all the icons.
He's just an addict to icons.
Yes, maybe that is exactly what it is. Yeah. Lots of fighting takes place within the church, fisticuffs at dawn kind of thing. Also, by this time, Leo and Michael have fallen out.
Oh.
Leo was spying on his friend and was told by his spy that Michael wanted to usurp Leo and wed his wife. Leo didn't fly off the handle. He just sent a word to his friend, I know what you're up to, cut it out.
Yeah.
But Michael didn't. So Leo then puts Michael on trial, and Michael is found guilty and locked up into a room in the palace.
I'm going to keep you close to my wife.
Well, interestingly, Leo, by this point, was just really angry and wanted to put Michael in the furnaces below the baths, so he would burn to death. Leo's wife talked him out of that in a kind of, that's a little bit crazy. Maybe don't do that to your old friend.
Think of your ranking points.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of, damn it.
I could score in the 40s.
Need to get my opprobrium crazy, I'm up. So no, he's just locked up in a room in the palace. Leo is then having second thoughts, so he goes to visit his old friend, apparently see if he can patch things up. But according to the source, when he gets to the room, Leo saw Michael sleeping, as if not a worry in the world. And this really angered Leo. God damn it, he's meant to look all worried and stuff, and look, he's having a nap. So Leo mutters to himself something about having Michael executed as soon as possible. But a boy who was looking after Michael overheard this and then woke Michael up and told Michael.
I hope Leo is still in the room at the time. It's like a massive stage whisper. I just heard Leo say.
No, Leo's definitely gone for reasons you'll soon see. Because Michael then uses the boy to get out the message. A plot is hatched. And the next day, let's see how quickly this comes back to you. The next day was Christmas Day.
Oh! Yes!
Yes, we've got the two best deaths in one round.
Oh, no.
The next day is Christmas Day, and in a chapel in the palace, Leo was singing hymns loudly because he liked to sing loud, apparently.
Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree.
And then suddenly some of the congregation pulled swords and attacked, but they were attacking from behind and they attacked the wrong man. Apparently Leo liked to wear a big hood, but so did one of the bishops. They got the wrong guy. Leo spun round and grabbed something to defend himself. By this time, many had started to run, but Leo was blocked from escaping, so instead he heads to the front of the chapel and he grabs the only weapon he can find, a large, sturdy cross.
But he was such an iconoclast. See, this is why he loved them secretly. He'd been training, like ninja style, spinning like cross nunchucks and stuff. Whizzing round, just a statue of Jesus around his head. Like this can help me one day.
Yes.
Oh, I love my icons. I love my icons.
Well, the assassins by this time are onto him, so they approach. Leo swings his cross wildly. The fighting starts. Leo is hit on the head and the arm with a sword, but not enough to kill him, but he's bleeding heavily. And presumably he managed to land some blows with the cross himself.
You could argue he'd crossed swords with them.
I wonder if you made that joke last time. I honestly don't know.
More than likely, knowing me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good joke. I like it.
you.
And if you didn't last time, it's a little bonus.
See?
Yeah.
Thanks, listeners. Thanks for hanging around with us this time.
See, interestingly, I'll have to look into the actual source material rather than just looking at my own notes again. But in my head, he's standing on the altar whilst doing this.
Definitely.
But I don't mention this in my notes, so I don't know whether that's an embellishment we made.
Oh, he definitely
Maybe it
was.
is.
He definitely was. He took the high ground. He was an Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It makes sense, doesn't it? It's over, assassins! I have the high ground!
Do not underestimate our powers.
Or the assassin's just going, I hate you! One of the assassins jumps up and he's just chopped to bits by the cross. Oh, it's great stuff. But unlike in the Star Wars prequel films, there was more than one attacker. Yeah, Leo starts to tire. He can't fight anymore. He recognises one of the assassins. He swears an oath to God and begged the man to spare him. Collapsed to his knees. And the man replied, "This is not a time for swearing oaths, but a time for killing." Oh. And then he raises his sword. Leo raises the cross, but it's no match. Leo's right arm is cut through. The cross and the arm tumble to the floor.
Classic
and
Star Wars.
Classic Star Wars. At this point, Leo's screaming, "I hate you!" And then he is struck in the head with a sword, and his head is severed from his body. Oh. And then fade to black. And then fade up again. Ooh. Because his body is lifted up by a bunch of priests. And then fade to black, and then fade up again.
The new emperor. Where is my wife? She died with your anger.
Well, no, the wife getting to know Michael, so...
Oh, I'm even worse. No!
Or the icons collapsing on themselves.
We didn't do this before, why not?
I don't know, it was already the best death, and now it's even better.
Or arguably worse.
Anyway, that's the 05. Vitius Maximus 15. Opprobrium Crasium 5, Successor Sortimus 12, Imago Facius 3, Tempo Completo 0.88, a reasonable score of 35.88, ranking 18th overall. Ah. Okay. And let's do our last one, shall we?
Je m'appelle Maurice.
The last emperor to be drawn in the rounds, it is Maurice, 582 to 602, from the Justinian dynasty. Maurice was born in Cappadocia in 539. Look how far back we've gone all of a sudden. During the reign of Justinian, his father was a powerful man who lived in the capital. At some point, Maurice got a job working for the head of the executors. This was Tiberius, future Tiberius II. When Tiberius became emperor, he promotes Maurice to the head of the executors himself. And then Maurice becomes the head of the armies. And off he goes to fight the Persians. The Roman forces had not done well against the Persians recently. They'd really struggled, and Maurice was really up against it. Realising that he probably would not win in a head-to-head battle, Maurice bypassed all the Persian forces and just headed into Persian land to cause as much trouble as possible. Now, sources are messy in this time period, but it would appear that Maurice is mostly doing really well in his fighting in the East. Yeah. This is a tactic that works well for the Empire. He builds up a name for himself, being one of the best generals. But word reaches him. Tiberius is dying. So he makes his way back to the capital, and there was talk of Maurice and a man named Germanus taking over as co-emperors. Tiberius didn't have an heir, so let's make these two emperors. But some political manoeuvring goes on, which again we're not really privy to, but it means that Maurice suddenly finds himself wed to Tiberius II's daughter and made the sole heir.
Cool.
And then Tiberius dies, and Maurice becomes the emperor. And he has a look at the empire, and he realises there is no money. No money at all, none. None. And also Italy is failing, and so's Africa. Oh, this is going terribly. And the war with the Persians is still going on. And the Avars are causing trouble. And this is all really bad. And being emperor, he stayed in the capital, and he sent out generals to do his fighting. This was the norm at the time.
Yeah.
We're not far from Heraclius here. Remember when we were really impressed that Heraclius went and did his own fighting? Yeah. That's because people like Maurice didn't, even though he was a good general and he proved himself. Yeah. Emperors didn't fight.
It's like in Star Trek where the captain doesn't go down for the away mission. You've got to protect the emperor. You've got to protect the head.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the war is continuing in Persia. It's been a long, hard struggle. This was a decades-long war going on. Maurice, realising that Italy and Africa were about to revolt, decides to change things up politically. So he makes them semi-independent. He appoints 2 exarchs to the 2 regions and basically says, look, you can rule yourselves, but you are subject to the empire. And this settles things somewhat. I mean, yeah, it does mean the empire doesn't have quite a strong hold on the areas, but it does stop them from full-on revolting. So probably a good move. Maurice then spends time fighting off the Avars, his forces resorting to guerrilla tactics, long, slow fighting going on there. Money is so tight that he can't afford to pay all his troops, however, and soon the forces fighting in Persia were close to revolt. But a revolting army were, just as they revolted, attacked by the Persians. As in, they went, right, we're revolting. Oh, who's that on that hill? The Persians attacking them kind of stopped the revolt in its tracks, luckily for Maurice. And then some good news for Maurice at last. The Persian King of Kings has been usurped.
Hey.
And Khosrow II is now in charge. Even better, this Khosrow, fearing the political uncertainty in his empire, was asking Maurice for help. And Maurice gave it. The young King of Kings would be grateful to the Romans and perhaps the war would end. And it works. The war comes to an end. The Romans getting the better end of the deal. Hooray! Now, what they weren't to know is this is the Khosrow who goes on to fight the Romans in another war that Heraclius eventually wins. But Maurice wasn't to know that, was he?
No.
He's got a good end to this war. It's good. Anyway, then with his forces in the east freed up, he's able to focus on the Avars, and the Avars lose some battles, and the Romans are on top there. So, not going too badly for the emperor. However, the financial troubles are still going on, and the public are just not happy with this emperor. When Maurice tried to save some money by keeping the troops out over winter, instead of bringing them home, they revolted and put a general called Phocas in charge. Maurice was worried and called for the heads of the Blues and the Greens. Will you guys help protect the city when Phocas gets here? And they said, yes. Anyway... It soon became clear that Phocas was saying that, I'm not revolting for my own sake, I don't want to be emperor, I'll be happy if Maurice's son was in charge, or another family member called Germanus. Maurice immediately suspected his son and Germanus of leading the revolt. He had his son publicly flogged. Germanus legged it and claimed sanctuary in the Hagia Sophia, but Maurice ordered Germanus to be dragged out. The public turn on the emperor, and as the public turn on him, the Demes go, well, let's not bother actually defending the city then, let's do some looting, because we love looting. So riots start, Phocas arrives, and Maurice and his family flee. The family were captured at the harbour, and Maurice was forced to watch his 5 sons be beheaded one after another before he was beheaded himself. That's Maurice. 17 for Vitius Maximus, 3 for Opprobrium Graecium, 15 for Successus Ultimus, 0.75 for Tempo Completo, and 2.50 for... 2.50 for Tempo Completo, 0.75 was Imago Facius. A very respectable 38.25, giving him 10th overall, which, when you do the summary...
That's not good.
No. Were we swayed by the fact that we thought he was French, do you think?
I'm getting that feeling, yeah.
I mean, glossing over that quickly, what I perhaps didn't go into as much detail as I should have was just how badly the Empire was doing against the Persians and the Avars, and he was able to turn that round. Winning that war against the Persians was a huge deal, and then freeing up the troops to go and put the Avars down was a huge deal. Yeah. This is why he got his 15 in Successus Ultimus and his 17 in Vitius Maximus. But there aren't many interesting stories that came out of it because we're in a low source area. So I stand by the Gene Caesar. I'm not sure if I stand by him being 10th, but I kind of get the score.
Yeah.
He's got to struggle to go through today, though, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So there we go. I mean, I'm going to say this is the closest of all the rounds in my head, because I just don't know. Do you have opinions?
Well, I mean, I think Basil's going through. I think that's fair to say.
I would not object to Basil going through.
My other feeling is probably... in my head, it's between John and Leo.
Not Constantine XI. Is that last charge at the fall not good enough?
I think that's all he needs. It's almost too cool. I mean, it's gruesome and horrible, but at the same time, it's like, that's it. Just let that fade now to black.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Constantine XI. I'm glad he was there. But he's just not as good.
No, he did the best out of the worst situation you could be in.
Yeah. Okay, I'm happy for Maurice and Constantine XI to be out.
Yeah.
Out of the other three, however, I genuinely don't know. Basil I, peasant to emperor.
In 15 years. I've been teaching 15
Hugely
years.
impressive.
I'm still in the exact same position I was 15 years ago.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also the coup, and then killing his friend, and then the stag story.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think he needs to be number one.
And then John VI. I just really like John VI's story.
Yes.
That civil war is fascinating,
Yeah.
and I feel like I was forced to skim over it a lot in this summary, but we did it relatively recently.
Yeah.
But
Leo 5.
Leo 5.
Star Wars. Ooh.
the end is just
It's incredible.
His death is absolutely amazing. You've got the story of the prophecy, which is amazing as well.
Yeah.
Him and his two friends. Something that I skimmed over for time reasons. He ends up killing Thomas horribly.
Yeah.
Or was that Michael, actually? Now I'm thinking about it. Might have been Michael, yes. But anyway, Thomas ends up dying. But yeah, the story of the three friends is really good. Yeah. The fact that he's got a friend who he turns on. It's just a lot more of a personal story with Leo.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, Maurice is like, here's something an emperor did.
Yeah.
In terms of on a map where the empire was. Whereas Leo's story is more personal.
Okay,
And that... Yeah, I know which two.
I know.
I feel really sad for John because I really like John.
John's great, but he's clearly in third place.
But it's got to be the two amazing deaths, hasn't it? And not just for the two amazing deaths, because there's other good things in their stories, but they are the two things that I remember.
Well,
But which one is first? You said Basil I goes first.
I think so, because he did a lot more.
He was peasant to emperor, that's always good.
And that's the thing, yeah. And that's quite impressive.
Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, Basil I first, Leo 5 second.
Brilliant.
Sorry to John VI, Constantine XI and Maurice.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, we have our semi-finals.
Hey!
I'm going to say... Oh, no. Before semi-finals, let me call it right now, then. I'm going to tell you who went through all the rounds for our listener vote, because it's been continuing. I know I've mentioned some of them before, but I didn't close them. So here are our listener votes. So, round 1, we had Anastasius end up winning that one by quite a while. And then second place was Romanos 1, which is exactly what we said. Well done us. Slight correction there from editing Rob. We put Anastasius in second and Romanos 1 in first, which is flipped from the public vote. So, same two emperors. We still got that right, but slight difference. Anyway, back to Pass Me and Pass Jamie. Round 2, we had Justinian 2 first and Justinian 1 second, which is exactly what we said. Well done us. Then round 3, we had Basil II, the overwhelming winner, which is what we said. And then in second place, we had Leo 3, just getting there, which I believe is what we said, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Then round 4, we have Andronicus, the overwhelming winner, scoring double the second place. And then second place, we have Alexios 1, which, Jamie, I don't know if you noticed, that's what we said.
Oh, that's good.
That's pretty good. Round 5.
The question is, though, have we conditioned our listeners?
Have we conditioned our listeners, or are we pandering, Jamie? Are we pandering to the listener base? I don't know. Or is all this a foregone conclusion? I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Next round, Heraclius, overwhelming winner, which is exactly what we said. Close to second place, it was Theophilus. Jamie is exactly what we said.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So it's just, I literally have not looked at this for about 2 weeks for round 6, so I don't know what we're about to see here. So, number 1 was, Jamie, we have finally gone against the public.
Hey!
Number 1 was Constantine XI.
Really?
Yeah.
I understand why.
This is the closest of all the rounds.
Yeah,
I understand why. Constantine XI comes first in the listener rounds. And then in second place, it's very close, was Basil. Leo 5 lost.
Really?
Yeah. Fewest votes.
Wow, controversial. But you had the cross thing.
Had the cross thing. Maurice came in third. And then John 6.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
So, when we do, and we will do this, the listeners' semi-finals, it's going to be almost identical to our semi-finals, with just a slight difference. But let's talk through the semi-finals, shall we then? Our first semi-final, Jamie, is going to be Romanos 1, Justinian 2, Leo 3, and Alexios 1.
Nice.
Our second semi-final is going to be Basil 2, Andronicus, Theophilus, and Leo 5. And then our third semi-final is Heraclius, Basil 1, Anastasius, and Justinian 1. Ooh, I think semi-final 3 is going to be the hardest one to call.
Yeah.
Having Heraclius and Justinian 1 in there. Anastasius is also a good favourite, and let's face it, we did really enjoy Basil today. So
Yeah.
But that's our semi-finals. And that will be next time. But we're going to have a little bit of a break before we do the semi-finals so we can catch up on some American episodes. And also, I need to prepare for intelligent speech. So I need to get all that written.
When's that, Rob?
November the 4th, Jamie. And you can go and get
what
tickets
is it?
right now. Go and get tickets by going on intelligentspeech.com, buying the tickets. And we're going to be looking at the many backup plans of Didius Julianus. So I need to get writing that because it's fast approaching.
Choose your old notes, it's fine.
That's a good point. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening.
And thank you for downloading us wherever you do, whether it's Podbean, Stitcher, Amazon, iTunes, you know where. But thank you. It's we really like it. And thank you for leaving reviews as well, because that's it sort of bunks you up in the podcasting thing and more people have access. And
good.
We love attention.
Yeah. Jamie, 4 more episodes.
What?
That's it. 4 more.
No.
And we're done.
No.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And this is the BBC's coverage of chariot races. And CNN, sponsored by 7-Eleven. Good God. Yes, I'm terribly sorry to all our listeners. Yes, if you were not quite aware, obviously my beloved co-host, Winston, obviously has gone to the early chariot race in the sky, and he will be dearly missed, and despite really, really quite intense objections, I have been given a new co-host. My name, obviously, is Cuthbert Mountbatten, that is Lord Cuthbert Mountbatten III, 4th Duke of Toxington, and I'm here with Chad. Chad, all the way from
Texas. My God, I'm so happy to be here. You guys have inspired us for years and years. Unfortunately, my friend Hickory, he's on the other side trying to do what he can, but you guys have held us up. We look up to you, your integrity, your strength. You guys are legends in the U.S.
Quite. Anyway, Chad. Is it just Chad? Is that short for anything?
It's short for Chad. Double D.
Right.
1D is a short name.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chadwick. At this point, Winston usually would be running through the contestants.
Well, I sure as hell can do that. In the first line, we've got...
Sorry, Chattery, if you could watch the language.
Well, I sure as beep can go through this with us. We've in the first lane, we have Constantine XI. What a guy. Look at those muscles. Look at the strength. Look at the sweat and determination in his eyes.
Yes, Constantine XI, the last of our contestants. He is a popular one. He is a popular one. I know Winston was looking forward to this one. A favourite of Winston's there. But still, stiff upper lip, what, yes. And who's next? Who's next? Chatfather.
I just love the way you guys talk. It's so beautiful. It brings a tear to my American eye. And in the second lane, we got Basil.
Basil, yes. Basil is in the second lane. Basil, one chariot, two horses. A fine. Yes. Who's next?
Hey, good Lord, who's it there in the third lane? It's John VI. What a legend. What a guy. Look at the fireworks all around. And the smoke machine, he is a legend.
Yes, John VI in the chariot with his good friend Andronicus III there. The two of them riding together, inseparable, good friends. I do believe that Andronicus III will be a good support for John VI there. Winston, what do you... I mean, Chad, what do you think?
I think he's in a damn good spot there. And just look at his horse eye, that's a fine stallion. That's a damn fine stallion. They're the kind of stallions we ride all across the prairies.
Oh, that's a very good point. You'll have horses over there, won't you? You probably do actually know what you're talking about when it comes to horses.
Well, yeah, the horse, the Equus cavillus, is the hoof herbivorous mammal of the family Equidae. It comprises a single species, Equus equalis, whose numerous varieties are called breeds. They're amazing beasts. Absolutely amazing.
Oh, good God. Well, that's actually rather splendid. Thank you, Chad.
No problem. And we can see in lane 4, they got the Lionheart, the legend, Leo 5.
Yes, yeah. Oh, Lionheart. I see what you did there. Yes, quite. Leo 5 with one chariot, one horse, but the chariot lined with what look like icons, but the words "these are not icons" have been written all over them.
We can see there is massing graffiti all the way over his horse, all the way over his carriage. There we can see crosses. We can see what looks like the Dead Sea Scrolls strapped to the tail of the horse. So many things. What a guy.
Yes, and then finally it's Maurice. Maurice is in the final lane with just him on a horse and a baguette.
He is so French.
Yes, and I think there's one thing we can both agree on, Chad, is that we hate the French.
They bring damn fine statues. Damn fine statues.
Of course they were on your side, weren't they? Yes, I always forget that. Yes. Anyway, so here we are. The race is about to begin, and any words before the final arrow is shot, Chad?
Hot damn! And the bow's released!
And we're going! And we're racing, and here we are, and it's chaos, absolutely chaos at the start. All 5 contestants are just smushed into each other.
They are cramped together like sardines in a can. They are vying for first place, and he's pulling a steel chair. Constantine's got it. Oh, no, it's just a sign.
Yes, Constantine XI seems to have pulled ahead. He is now in the lead. It's unexpected. He's not a favourite for today, but he is definitely winning. And as we go into the next straight, we can finally pick out an order here. We have Constantine XI, and then it is Basil I and Leo 5 pretty much neck and neck.
But as we move the camera forward to the first lane, Constantine, he's in the first position. And oh my God, the audience are not happy. They are throwing things at him. They're attacking him.
Feeling very sorry for the chap myself. To be honest, I'm feeling quite bad about the comments I made about the French earlier. I'm feeling emotional today. I actually knew a Frenchman once. Fine chap. He delivered the food promptly and with no fuss to my table. Yes, I feel sorry for Maurice. He looks quite upset there, chap.
He looks damn sad, but as we move the camera forward to the first lane, Constantine, he's in first position. And oh my God, the audience are not happy. They are throwing things at him, they're attacking.
Yes, but this is quite a surprise. I mean, Constantine wasn't a favourite, but a lot of the crowd seem actually quite actively angry with Constantine XI. They seem to be trying to impede his progress.
Well, that's a damn shame. And then Basil is following second. He is maintaining his position.
Yes, Basil and Leo, it's hard to separate them. They're both neck and neck right now. And they go around the hairpin, and no, there's still nothing between them. But I must say, the crowd is still acting very bizarrely to Constantine XI. There is a lot of anger building up in the crowd, and I do not understand why. Have you got any insights here, Chad?
Absolutely no idea. But oh my gosh, John VI is taking ahead. He's past Basil, and he's past Constantine XI.
Oh, yes, John VI and Andronicus III together are now in the lead, which is, and the crowd cheer. The crowd cheer. It's just one section of the crowd that seem really angry with Constantine XI, and I must say, they do appear to be Ottomans. They definitely look like Ottomans. It's the T-shirts that they're wearing.
We can see Leo the Lionheart. He is kissing his icons. He is kissing them right on the mouth.
Yes, there's a lot of icon kissing, and the crowd aren't happy with that, but he's screaming something. I can't quite hear him. It's something along the lines of, "There aren't icons. It doesn't count." I'm not sure what that's about, but yeah, we go back to the front of the pack. There's John VI and Andronicus. They're pulling away now, which is... Oh, good God, Jack. Did you see this? Andronicus III has just fallen off the back of the wagon.
Oh my gosh, that's going to affect John VI massively. This is the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I won't go quite that far, but yes, it is definitely exciting. Definitely exciting. He has fallen off the back of the chariot. I said wagon a moment ago. No, I believe he's still on the wagon, as it were. Those rumours are true. But no, he's off the chariot, and he is dead. And John VI is now on his... No, he's not on his own. There's someone else in the chariot.
It appears to be a child. He is so small, it must be a child. I believe that's John V.
It is John V. It's well recognised there, Chat. Well done. Yes, it is John. It's John V, and they're having an argument, and the chariot is slowing to a crawl, and all of the gains that John VI made is evaporating immediately. John VI. Constantine XI passes back in the lead, and Basil and Leo pass as well. John VI back into fourth place. Oh, he must be devastated.
If I could just interrupt this, we need a word from our sponsors.
No, we're on the BBC. Carry on.
Have you ever had hemorrhoids?
No.
Well, we've got the thing for you.
Chat. The BBC, we don't do adverts.
Get the new Ventablin.
Chat. I must
Ventablin
insist.
is the way. Speak to your medical professional.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, it's Ventablin.
Ventablin, what's that?
Ventablin cures hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids?
Yeah.
Do you have anything for crippling anxiety, depression, and dealing with the loss of your friend, wife, and son?
Let's change our sponsor.
Excellent. Right. Well, I'll look forward to hearing from you about that. Anyway, back to the race. We have Constantine XI in chat, and the crowd still aren't happy with him. But yes, it's definitely that section. It's the Ottoman section of the crowd. You can tell they're Ottomans. They're all wearing T-shirts saying "We are Ottomans." It makes them stand out. Oh, they are invading the racecourse. They are on the racecourse.
They are streaming right in, and they appear to be heading towards the finish line. And grouping up, this is very strange. This is damn strange.
This is very strange. They're attacking pretty much everyone right now. This is a crowd invasion. The Ottomans have invaded. Everyone has to look out for themselves right now. I see Leo V is pulling out a large cross. He's pulling out a large cross.
I think it's more than a cross. It looks to me like a crucifix. You can see the little Jesus standing there, or lying there, and he is swinging it around.
Oh, and there goes a head of a protester. Yes, it's all the way back into the crowds. The rest of the crowd are cheering. Leo 5 really making the most of that cross there. Oh, and that's embedded into another Ottoman there. Oh, well, Leo 5 seems to have cleared the crowd. How's everyone else faring?
They're doing pretty well. We can see Maurice. He's still waving his baguette around. That's pretty good. John 6, he slowed right down. In fact, Maurice, I believe, is about to overtake him.
Maurice takes John 6. John 6 is in huge trouble now, and he's been swamped. He's been swamped by the protesting Ottomans, and he is being ripped to pieces by the Ottomans. It's tragic to see.
They're tearing out his innards there. Their intestines all over the road. I don't believe he can come back from this.
No, it's not looking good. Basil I swerves around the protesters. He's made it past the group. Constantine XI managed to get past, but he's so far in front right now that he's going to be going around the track, and he's going to hit that crowd of protesters again any moment now. And I don't know how he's going to deal with this.
I don't know, because I'm pretty sure most of the audience thinks he's going to come in first place. This will be a massive disappointment to them.
And Constantine takes the last hairpin, and
he's going!
Oh, he's definitely going to win. There is no stopping Constantine XI now. He is doing amazingly well, and he goes into the crowd of protesting Ottomans, and
he's not come out the end.
Chad.
What's going on?
Chad. Good God, Chad. He's not come out. Chad. What's going on?
He's gone. He's gone.
He's gone. He's gone in a blaze of glory. The crowd are now dispersing. They're leaving the track. There was just nothing left of Constantine XI. He appears to be out of the race, so that means the race is now just Basil I, Leo 5, and Maurice.
We can see Maurice's French fans. They are not happy with this. He's still at the back.
Maurice is so far behind, I don't think he's going to be able to catch up. This race is purely between Basil I and Leo 5 now.
I think that's the way it's going to go. Basil 2, he's moving along, but oh my God, what's that just leaping over that fence?
It appears to be a giant stag, Chad. A giant stag. I'm guessing you have stag in the colonies.
We have moose, so big that tear your face off.
Moose? That's fascinating.
Yeah, they come in strawberry flavored, banana flavored, and apple.
Oh, really? Yes.
It's a great place to be. You should visit one day. You'd love it.
But no, it does sound quite interesting, I suppose. I mean, me and my wife were going to visit for our honeymoon, but due to calls, there was a race that weekend. But yes, no, maybe.
And now, word from our sponsor.
But again, BBC, we don't need to do this.
Are you always feeling sad? You got crippling anxiety? Well, we have the thing for you.
Oh, yes, actually. Yes, no, I have been feeling that way recently.
Ask your practitioner for laudanum, an opiate-based derivative that makes the grayest days the bluest days, full of rainbows and sunshine.
Really?
Symptoms can include extreme diarrhea, crippling headaches, blindness, erectile dysfunction, and death. Speak to your medical practitioner today.
Well, I have most of those side effects anyway, so what's there to lose? Do you have any of this stuff?
Well, yeah, we just buy what we want. Here you go, have a sachet.
Oh, thank you very much, Chad. I don't know how to do it. I just, okay, let's see if that kicks in. And, right, back to the race. So Basil I and Leo 5 are neck and neck now. It is still really close between the two, but the crowd's attention is definitely on this stag that just jumped into the stadium, because the stag is also pulled up beside them. We have Basil I, Leo 5, and a stag neck and neck. Who is going to win?
It seems very strange. That stag seems to be eyeballing Basil quite a lot.
Basil.
Yeah.
I like that. I like
it's so good.
Yes, no. Oh, I'm feeling good. Okay, right. Yeah, we've got Basil and we've got Leo and a stag. Have you ever seen a stag?
No, it's got giant moose.
It's like it's got like things on its head.
Yeah, they're massive antlers.
Did you know they fall off once a year?
No.
Yeah, they do. They're like teeth.
Ah, Dad, that's a damn good fact.
Yeah.
And we can see the stag. He's lifting his antlers underneath. Oh, he's got it caught in Basil's belt.
Look at it. It's flopping all over the place.
The stag's moving. Basil's back his belt. He is screaming for help. He's running towards the line. He's past the finish line.
he's won. He's won. He's screaming. He's screaming. He's
Basil
screaming.
has come in
But he's
number
won.
1.
Oh, Basil wins. Basil. Basil wins. Basil. Yes, Leo. Well, sorry, Chad. If you could just for a moment, just carry on.
That's absolutely fine. We can see it's now almost neck and neck between Leo 5 and Maurice. Maurice is trying his best. He's hitting that horse. He's macking it, but he can't outdo it. Oh, he's putting out a steel chair, just like in WWE. He's going to hit Leo. Leo overtakes. He's gone past him. He's gone past the finish line. He has won. Leo 5 is coming second. Maurice a very disappointing third. I can see the French aspect of the audience. They are not happy. And how are you?
No, I'm pretty good. Chad. It is Chad, isn't it?
It damn sure is.
Will you be my friend, Chad?
Oh my God, I'd love to be your friend. I've respected you since I was a child. I remember my grandpappy would put you on the radio. We'd listen to you every Sunday after church. You were like a mentor to me.
It's just, I'm going to say it. I'm starting to feel like repressing all the feelings. It's not quite as fun. Can I come to America with you?
You damn sure can. In fact, I'm going to do you one better. You said you got a wife?
Not anymore. Tragic train accident.
Oh, yes, sorry for bringing that up. Have you got a child?
Orphanage. Funny story about the orphanage. It burnt down.
Well, I got something to make you feel a lot better. Here, because if you helped me throughout my childhood, I'm going to give you this one flight ticket, one way, to Las Vegas.
Oh, God, Chad. It's been an honor to do this program with you. And I'm just going to announce now that I have been Cuthbert Mountbatten, and this is my final report for the chariot races of the BBC. I'm off to get ye and ha.
And I'm Chad, and thank you for listening on CNN, sponsored by 7-Eleven.
BBC.
7-Eleven.
Good evening. The Amorian dynasty. Oh, how's that? I thought I had something set up, and I don't.
How are you feeling after the first bit?
Okay, a bit lightheaded, but I'll be fine.
We start saying random words.
Yeah, just let me know.
Shining on my knees.
As soon as it stops making any sense whatsoever, like more so than normal, just let me know.
There is no Amorian dynasty.
The Amorian dynasty. This is Leo V, Michael II, Theophilus, who we have covered, Theodora, and Michael III.